Welcome back to my channel, and today's shout out goes to Eva for real for being the first person to comment on my last video. Thank you so much for the support, babe. I love you, and I'll sit back, get comfortable, and let's get right into it. Story number 1. I'm a 25-year-old woman living in Nigeria, and I'm also a law student. Last month, some crazy stuff happened. I got into a relationship with my boyfriend 2 years ago, and we have been having some relationship problems lately. It hasn't been easy for me as I have no friends to talk to. However, there was a certain lady in my office who was trying to become very close to me. She said she knew I wasn't okay and that I needed help. Apparently, she used to date my boyfriend, and she knew the kind of person he was. She mentioned how toxic and manipulative it could be, and seemed to understand why I hadn't been myself lately. I don't know what came over me, but I started to trust her a lot. She texted me throughout the day, and even when I didn't reply, she would continue messaging me. She even helped me find an elderly health worker to talk to and support me through this rough patch. Later on, another colleague called me privately and advised me to stay away from this lady. She said she knew the kind of person she was, mentioning that she talks a lot and wants to know everyone's business. So I decided that I wouldn't share my personal life with her anymore. One day after work, I went to my boyfriend's home and we had an argument. He pushed me and I almost fell to the floor. I had never seen him this angry, so I left immediately. I felt he was cheating on me. So the next time we saw each other, I went through his phone while he was asleep. I took some screenshots of his messages as evidence and left. At that point, I was devastated by the messages I had seen on his phone with another woman, and I needed someone to talk to. I wanted to call the lady in the office who had been helping me, but I held back. I was crying so hard and eventually did show her the messages I found on his phone. After that, my boyfriend called me several times, but I didn't answer because I was really angry with him. Eventually, he made several attempts to talk to me and apologized for everything. He even showed me evidence that he had cut ties with the other woman, so I forgave him. I told him this would be the last time I would ever forgive him for something like this, and he promised it wouldn't happen again. Everything seemed to go back to normal. At that point, I decided I would never discuss my relationship problems with anyone else ever again. A few days later, there was a party that I attended, and the lady from my office was there as well as my boyfriend. After the party, my boyfriend and I agreed to go home together since I had decided to spend the night at his place. During the party, I had some drinks and got a bit tipsy. I even vomited since it was my first time trying alcohol. My boyfriend then took me to a nearby place where there weren't many people around, so I could cool down. After that, he held my hand and we were on our way out and heading home when my colleague came out of nowhere. She said he was taking advantage of me and that he should leave me. She insisted that I spend the night at her place instead. I couldn't even say anything because I was drunk, and the two of them eventually got into a fight. After that, I went home with my boyfriend. He later asked me why my colleague was so angry, and I said I had no idea. I just didn't want him to know that I had been telling other people our business because he really hates that. I had already decided that I wouldn't discuss our relationship with anyone again, so I thought it didn't matter to tell him. After a few days, my boyfriend came to the firm where I worked and reported my colleague to our boss, who was also his boss. He works in another branch of the firm and has a more senior position than we do. As I mentioned earlier, my boyfriend and this girl dated some years back. He said she had been embarrassing him publicly and that the party wasn't the first time, so he was really pissed about her behavior. Our boss immediately called her in and told her to apologize in front of the whole office. After that, she called me and told me what happened. She was so angry at me and said she got into trouble because she was trying to defend me and I should do something about it. I told her I didn't even know this had happened and that I had no control over the situation since he had already told our boss. I said I would not get involved. She became even angrier and threatened to expose me and everything she knew about my affair with him. I was so scared because I didn't want my boss to know about this. She later went to our boss and explained everything. She even played my voice messages where I was talking to her about some personal things, including my sex life and how my boyfriend would sometimes treat me. She also showed my boss all the pictures I took on his phone and sent to her. I was so embarrassed and depressed. I couldn't go to work for days because of this. She said she was just protecting herself from trouble, and that is why she did what she did. Since that day, she has never spoken to me again. I decided to be the bigger person and reached out to her several times, but she always insulted me and claimed she didn't want to talk to me again because I didn't stand up for her when she needed me. After all the help she had offered me, I sometimes think about all the things this lady used to say. She was always talking about my boyfriend whenever other people were around, even before I started confiding in her. One particular day, she said that any chance she got, she would embarrass him because of how badly she treated her when they were together. Other times, she would even make negative comments about my appearance and the things I wore. Sometimes, I wonder if she did all this because of what she had against him and not me. At this point, I am so confused and I need advice. Am I at fault here or not? Babe, let's break this down. Your boyfriend is clearly not treating you the way you deserve to be treated. He got angry and pushed you during an argument, which is a red flag. It is not acceptable behavior. No one should ever make you feel unsafe. And this should be a huge red flag for you. And also the fact that he has history with this woman makes everything messier. Now, let's talk about your colleague. She seems to have her own issues. And the interference in your relationship was not helping you. But babe, why would you ever confide in a woman who has dated your boyfriend before? Why, babe? It was a wrong move, especially since you said she used to talk badly about your boyfriend in the office. She said she was looking out for you, but it sounds like she had her own agenda. She might have been using your friendship to get back at your boyfriend for the way you treated her in the past. It was not okay for her to expose those personal things about you, but she never had your best interest at heart in the first place. And babe, why would you ever reach out to her again? You mentioned wanting to be the bigger person. But in this case, babe, it is okay to step back and prioritize your own well-being. Why would you want to be friends with someone who spilled out all the secrets you told her in private? And you said this woman speaks badly about you and always brings you down. If she's not treating you right and constantly pushing you down, you don't owe her your friendship, especially since she used your relationship to manipulate the whole situation. Sometimes, babe, walking away from toxic people is the healthiest choice you can ever make. Now, babe, think about your relationship with your boyfriend. Does it genuinely make you happy? Do you feel safe and respected with him? You need to think about this and ask yourself if he's the right person for you. You deserve someone who treats you well and respects you, not someone who brings you heartbreak and confusion. Babe, you're not at fault for wanting a healthy relationship. You just trusted the wrong person. Just stay away from this woman, babe, and put yourself and your happiness first. I'm wishing you all the best. And now, if you have any advice for this sender, write story number 1 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment sections reading them. Let's move on to story number 2. I started doing hookups in my second year of university. I was introduced to it by my roommates. I was determined to make something of my life since I come from a very poor background. But now, the past is coming back to haunt me. It was never my intention to start making money through hookups. I worked very hard in my first year, juggling 2 part-time jobs to be able to move into the hostel the following year. My parents were doing their best, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. I met Miriam when I finally moved into the hostel in my second year. There were 3 of us in the room, but in the middle of the semester, our third roommate fell sick and stopped coming to school. We were not that close at first. I would just greet her when I saw her and she would do the same. We were complete opposites and moved in different social circles. I was just a lean, simple girl who couldn't afford nice clothes, while she was a slave queen, always dressed fashionably with different wigs. I was studying and working in a restaurant near the school at night. I was always stressed, but I was determined to make it, even though the strain was overwhelming and I was constantly tired. One day, while studying in bed, I broke into tears. I just couldn't take it anymore and didn't understand why my life felt so miserable. Miriam was in the room and came over immediately to console me. I usually kept my personal life hidden, but that night I opened up to her about everything I was going through and how exhausted I felt. Miriam listened to me and we talked all night. The next day, she offered to take me out to chill and relieve some of my stress. I didn't even have nice clothes to wear, so she generously lent me one of her dresses and slippers, which she asked me to keep afterwards. That is how we became close. At that time, I didn't know much about her life. I assumed she was from a wealthy family since she drove her own car and seemed to be doing well. She never spoke much about her family, and I tried not to pry. She rarely slept at the hostel and often went out late at night. At first, she claimed she was just going to parties, and I wanted to tag along sometimes, but she always had one excuse after another. After becoming a friend, I began craving things I never wanted before. I wanted to be like her, to dress up like her, and wear beautiful wigs and elegant outfits. I longed for a more comfortable life. I started hating my own situation and became increasingly aware of how worn out my clothes were and that I didn't even own a single wig. Gradually, Miriam began to share more about the other side of her life. At first, she mentioned she had sugar daddies who provided her with whatever she wanted. That is when I realized she wasn't from a wealthy family. Instead, she had men funding a lifestyle. While I was not interested in that life, I was certainly curious. The closer we became, the more she opened up about her experiences. One day, she finally spilled the beans and told me that she actually does hookups. I was not really shocked because I had begun to suspect it. Slowly, she talked me into it, saying it was very easy and that sometimes you don't even have to sleep with these men, yet they pay good money. I wanted more money and I was desperate. By this time, I had stopped working at the restaurant after I started hanging out with Miriam. This meant I might not even have enough money for the hostel the next semester. I told myself that if Miriam could do it, I could too. At first, I was hesitant. I had always thought of myself as a good girl, but I soon found myself swept away by the thrill of it all, and more importantly, the quick cash. L'argent. I was still studying hard, knowing that this was not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. We would go out around midnight and hang around corners close to prestigious clubs. Sometimes I would meet 3 men in one night, and it was good money. Sometimes some of these men wanted to do things I didn't want to do, and they could get violent, but I always carried a small knife and pepper spray to protect myself. I was careful, managing to keep my double life hidden while still attending lectures. No one knew what I was doing apart from Miriam and some of the girls I met through the hookup business. I was a straight A student by day and a hookup artist by night. I needed to survive, and this was my way out. I kept the secret throughout university. After graduation, I managed to land a great job, and I decided to stop that part of my life entirely. When I told Miriam I wanted to quit, she didn't take it well. She thought I could still work and do hookups on the side, since at this point, we had regulars who paid more than I would make at my job. But I was tired of that life, and I wanted to stop. When she realized she couldn't change my mind, she stopped talking to me for a while, but eventually she accepted my decision. My life finally seemed to be on the right track. A few months later, at a work function a year after I started working, I met an amazing man, the manager of another branch of our company. We hit it off immediately and started dating. It was everything I'd ever wanted and more. And maybe I should have told him about my past. But this man was principled and a Christian. Even his dad was a pastor who had his own church. I was scared he would leave me if he ever found out. At this point, I had not been doing hookups for more than a year, and I felt my past was just that, my past, and shouldn't define me. Our love grew. and things escalated quickly. He proposed to me last year. I was on cloud 9, believing that I had truly escaped my past. My friends celebrated my engagement, and I thought I could finally close the chapter on my hidden life. Things were finally going great, and I was about to be happy. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, and soon enough, I found myself caught in a nightmare. I was in bed with my fiancé one night, just browsing through social media, when I received a simple text from an unknown number. Someone was blackmailing me. Hey! The blackmailer threatened to expose my past to my fiancé if I didn't give them 10,000 cedis within 3 days. My heart dropped into my stomach. With trembling hands, I typed back and asked who it was, but I didn't receive a response. I tried calling the number, but it was switched off. My heart was racing in my chest. My fiancé noticed something was wrong and asked if I was okay. I could only smile and nod, telling him I wanted to use the washroom. Apart from Miriam, no one knew about my past life, so I called her immediately. I began to think it was a prank from her, but the text wasn't from her. I asked if she had told anyone, and she said no. She suspected it was one of the men or girls we met on the streets who was blackmailing me. She asked for the number, and I sent it to her. She called it, but it was still switched off. I couldn't sleep that night. I finally fell asleep in the morning, only to wake up to new texts from the unknown number. They sent pictures of me standing on a corner near one of the clubs I used to frequent, wearing a skimpy dress and heels. It felt like a scene from a movie. What was going on? The picture had been taken when I first started doing hookups. Why would anyone take my picture then? I didn't understand what was happening. It was clear this person knew me. I called Miriam again and told her about the pictures. She told me not to give in to the blackmailer, insisting that the person wouldn't stop if I paid him. She suggested that I tell my fiancé the truth, saying that it would set me free. But I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I didn't want to lose him. I thought about denying everything if he ever found out, but I was sure the blackmailer had more evidence. My fiancé was a big part of my life, and I simply couldn't afford to lose him. So foolishly, I wired the 10,000 cedis to the number the blackmailer provided. I didn't hear anything for weeks, and I thought everything was finally over until I received another text demanding another 10,000 cedis. Hey! I paid again, and then just 2 weeks later, the person asked for 5,000 cedis. The anxiety was crashing, and every time my phone buzzed, I felt a wave of dread wash over me. Miriam was with me throughout this. She was very supportive and tried to help me track down the person, but it was nearly impossible. I think I would have gone mad if it weren't for her. Although she was still in the business, she told me she was also trying to quit and start doing something better with her life. She encouraged me to tell my fiancé about my past several times, warning that if I didn't, I would continue to pay this unknown person forever. One day, Miriam came over and went to the kitchen to cook. She always had a pack of gum in her bag, so I opened it to take a steak. What I found made my blood run cold. Aside from the usual phone, there was another one. I don't know why, but as soon as I saw the other phone, my mind went straight to the blackmailer. It was off, so I switched it on and called the number that had been blackmailing me. I almost dropped the phone when it started vibrating. That is when the horrifying truth unfolded before me. It was her. My friend was the blackmailer. Hey! My world felt like it was crumbling. She had been in my life all along, charming and supportive, while secretly plotting against me. I was shocked and utterly betrayed. How could she do this to me? She had just been pretending all along. I switched off the phone and put it back in her bag. She doesn't know that I know her secret. I have not yet paid the 5,000 cedis, but the deadline is coming up soon. I don't know what to do. Should I confront her? If I do, will she threaten to expose my past, even if I've already given her money? Or should I gather evidence of a blackmail and go to the authorities? I'm terrified of what will happen if I take action. On one hand, I could stand up for myself and potentially break free from this toxic hold she has on me. On the other hand, the risk of losing the life I've built, or worse, my fiancé, terrifies me even more. I feel trapped, and the fear of what could happen if my past comes to light hangs over me like a dark cloud. I don't know what to do. How can I get out of this mess without losing everything I value? I'm reaching out to you and your community for advice because right now, I feel alone and desperate. What should I do? Continuing to pay her is not going to solve any of your problems. It will only lead to more demands and keep you under your control. Babe, this is what I think you should do. Take screenshots of the messages and keep any other information you can find, like the phone number. This evidence is crucial. After that, you need to be ready to come clean to your fiancé. I know this is difficult, but he has to know. You cannot keep hiding this secret forever. He's going to find out one day. And I know you are afraid he might leave you if he finds out about your past. But babe, keeping secrets like this can lead to bigger problems. Honesty is very important in any relationship, and he deserves to know the truth. It is going to be hard though, but it might end up strengthening your bond at the end of the day, especially if he really loves you. Like you said, it is your past. Your past is your past. Now, babe, you see that evidence you've collected, it can go two ways. One, you can either go to the authorities and report Miriam for blackmail because it is illegal to blackmail someone. That is after you've spoken to your fiancé. Report her and let the authorities deal with her. Or you can show all the evidence to Miriam. Tell her you know she's the one blackmailing you. Blackmail is illegal. If she doesn't stop and back off, you are going to show it to the police. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but this might make her back off. But babe, no matter what, you need to tell your fiancé about your past. It is surely going to come out one day. Tell him if you want to be with him forever. Because if he finds out from someone else other than you, it will leave you, trust me. So tell him, let him make his own decision. So either you tell your fiancé everything and then you go to the police, show the evidence and everything, prove that Miriam is blackmailing you and have the authorities deal with her. Or show the evidence to Miriam. Tell Miriam that blackmail is illegal and if she doesn't back off, you are going to go to the police. If she really backs off, it will give you more time to think about how to approach the issue with your fiancé. But no matter what, you need to tell him. He needs to know. You are strong, babe, and this does not have to define you. Take control of your life and the situation you are in. It won't be easy, but you can get through this and come out stronger at the other end. You deserve a life free of fear, and it is time to fight for that. I'm wishing you all the best. And now, if you have any advice for the sender, write story number 2 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment sections reading them. Let's move on to story number 3. V. I need advice on this issue. I've been friends with this girl since senior high school. Let's call her Audrey. I'm an isolated person who doesn't know how to make friends. Well, she's the opposite. We hit it off immediately when we met in our first year of senior high school, and I've been friends ever since. I can be a jealous friend, and I always hated it when I saw her being close to others, especially those I didn't like in school. We will talk about the people I didn't like, and she will support me. But in the next moment, I will see her talking and laughing with them. When I asked her why she did that, she will say, "You don't expect me to be like you when I'm a loving girl and everyone wants to befriend me." Yes, she was a loving person and people always wanted to be her friend. But I was her friend too, and I wished she would give me the space to be her best friend. But that never happened. I loved her so much. And even though I wasn't financially stable, I did everything I could for her. During our friendship in senior high school, we stopped talking for almost a year because she didn't respect my feelings. But eventually, we sorted things out and reunited. Fast forward, we both applied to the same university. While I got accepted to 2 schools, she was accepted to only 1. I chose the school she was admitted to because I wanted to be close to her. She was the only friend I had ever made in my life. I didn't want to lose her. After we completed SHS, I moved to a different region for university. Since she couldn't secure a hostel, I gave her my hostel space and stayed home, commuting to lectures, thinking it was the best way to help her. In our first year, I visited her often. But suddenly, she made new friends in her room and forgot about me. Before that, I had met a guy during Wasi who became my boyfriend. Audrey knew about him, and it was good to me. And I noticed he seemed closer to her. I started suspecting that he liked her. So I made the mistake of asking her to act like she liked him to test him. Instead, she told him everything, and he got furious, broke up with me, and hated me. She denied telling him anything, and I believed her. However, they remained friends even after my breakup, which hurt me deeply. Back at university, she ignored me for her new friends. I still stayed, loving her from afar. Later, she stopped talking to her roommates, and we became friends again. For another academic year, I found a hostel for both of us. We stayed in the same room and did everything together. People envied our friendship. But then, she grew close to another roommate and I distanced myself. She didn't ask about my distance. Instead, she built a strong friendship with a new girl. I moved out of the room because it hurt to see them together. Despite everything, I still loved her. When we had to pack our things from the room, I thought of her since she lived in a different region. I packed their belongings and took them to my house. I kept doing everything for her, like cooking and washing her clothes. During vacation, I reached out to her because I missed her. We decided to rent a room together instead of going for an expensive hostel. Since I lived in the region, I searched for a room but couldn't find one, so we chose a hostel again. I carried 2 mattresses on my head to the hostel and used my money for groceries while she secretly saved hers. I confronted her about this behavior and we agreed to act like siblings. But again, she got close to a new girl in the hostel, someone I didn't like. She started posting pictures of this girl on her status, something she had never done for me. I distanced myself, but she never asked why. Instead, she stayed close to the new girl, leaving me hurt and broken. It's been a year since we stopped talking, and I still think about her every day. I don't have any friends, and it hurts a lot. How do I move on from this? Babe, your relationship with Audrey was unhealthy and exhausting for you. You put so much effort into making her happy. What about you, babe? And despite all this, it seemed like she doesn't value your feelings like the way you do to hers. Friends should lift each other up, not make each other feel left out or hurt. True friendships are built on mutual respect and support. You have every right to feel hurt and upset about the way she treated you. Distancing yourself from her was a good step. It is understandable that you still miss the bond you used to share. It is not easy to let go of someone you love, especially when you don't have many other friends. But babe, you need to realize that sometimes it is healthier to move on. Holding on to the past can prevent you from finding new friendships that can even be more fulfilling than the one you just left. Instead of putting all your energy into someone who doesn't appreciate you, focus on yourself. Start exploring new hobbies. Engage in activities where you can meet new people. It might feel lonely now, babe, but giving yourself the opportunity to meet new people will help you heal. Lastly, babe, work on building your self-esteem. Remind yourself that you are worthy of love and friendships that make you feel valued. When you start to believe in your own self-worth, you'll be less inclined to settle for friendships that hurt you. It will take time, but with patience and effort, you can move on and find relationships that bring you joy instead of pain. Focus on you, babe, and remember that you deserve genuine friendships that uplift you. I'm wishing you all the best. And now, if you have any advice for this sender, write story number 3 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment sections reading them. Let's move on to story number 4. Hi V, I just found myself in a situation and I need your advice on what I can do to help. I have a young niece who is 19 and I am currently not home. I've traveled out of the country. I was there 4 months ago and she told me that her brother and parents were giving her away to marry. I advised her not to give in, but I don't really know what happened because she actually got married to the guy. They didn't date for a long period. Fast forward, she's been married to him for 4 months now. And I just heard from a friend that the guy is maltreating her. She even miscarried because he pushed her. She doesn't have a phone right now because he smashed their phone on the floor, claiming that she makes too many phone calls. Hey, please tell me how I can help her because my family won't do anything but just say let's pray or advise her to stay. I haven't been able to talk to her since she doesn't have a phone at the moment. Thank you. Babe, your niece is in a very dangerous situation. Oh. Her husband is not just maltreating her. He has crossed the line by becoming physically abusive, and this is very dangerous. The fact that he has pushed her to the point of miscarriage shows how serious this is. She is in immediate danger, and she needs support from someone who can help her get to safety. Since you are currently out of the country and unable to speak to her directly, your first step should be to find a way to get in touch with her or someone she trusts. If you have mutual friends or family that can reach out to her, ask them to help. It is very important that your niece knows she's not alone and that she has support. And what is wrong with some of these family people? If possible, communicate with your family again. Encourage them to take a situation seriously. She may need to consider leaving the situation entirely. And this is a very difficult decision to make, but her safety comes first. Men like her husband can even end up unaliving her. No one deserves to be treated this way. She's just 19. Why is she getting married now? Babe, be persistent in your efforts to get her the help she needs. And know that her life could depend on it. I'm wishing you all the best. And now, if you have any advice for this sender, write story number 4 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment sections reading them. Now, Abi, you know that this is a judgment-free zone. We listen, we don't judge. So please be kind to them in the comment sections because obviously these issues are worrying them. That is why they've sent their stories to me in the first place. So please be kind. If you've not subscribed to this channel yet, what are you waiting for, babe? Subscribe and like this video. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Okay, I'm done. Bye.